Hello, Dr. Coker here, and this is a story recap of Stormhaven from the Elder Scrolls Online. This is part of the Daggerfall Covenant story series. Previously in Glenumbra, a Lion Guard messenger said her captain was abducted, and the band of Bretons and Daedra that took him were headed for Stormhaven. This is what brings you to Stormhaven. You follow the road to Stormhaven, and shortly after crossing the border, you are attacked by cultists and Daedric minions. A little further in, you find the captain, bound by supernatural braziers and appearing to be in disturbed sleep. Once you free him and wake him, he tells you to meet him in Coglin village. Moments later, you find him there at the inn.
Gods, they killed them all. Those Daedric filth killed my entire patrol. And they dragged me off and threw me into a nightmare. Vaermina. They kept saying Vaermina.
He tells you they are members of a nightmare cult called the Supernal Dreamers, and that he's going to warn High King Emmerich of their presence. Stepping outside, you meet a royal knight who's bound in stocks like a criminal, but claims to be innocent. She says, just after she arrived, the village was attacked by slavers, and the paranoid constable falsely accused her of aiding them. A messenger was sent to announce her arrival, but the constable never heard from him. You find the constable nearby and ask him. He doesn't buy her story, and he says there was a messenger, but he never spoke to him, and the slavers took him. The town guards have trapped the slavers and the messenger in a warehouse. You infiltrate the warehouse. Then you speak with the messenger. He confirms his job was to inform the constable of the knight's arrival, so you ask if he ever did.
No, I never got the chance. I had to talk to my friend first. Well, I didn't have to, I suppose. Anyways, that's when the slavers attacked. Will you untie me now? I'll go talk to the constable right away.
You take him straight to the constable so he can deliver the message, yet he still doesn't believe it. He's anxious because some of the slavers are hiding in one of the ships at his port. The ship's captain has asked for help, but the constable thinks he's with the slavers too. Next, you speak with the ship captain, who's understandably upset. He says he can prove his innocence by showing his ledger, which is below decks where the slavers are. You retrieve it for him. The constable still won't let the knight or the ship captain go. He says he had a dream about all of this, and he thinks the local blacksmith is part of the conspiracy as well. He then begins to question your motives. You head to the blacksmith and warn her that she's about to be arrested. She says the constable is not himself lately, and she recalls seeing a supernal dreamer leaving his house. After sneaking into his house, you find a Dremora lingering in his bedroom. After killing it, you notice that a Daedric symbol has been placed in his bed. You take the symbol to the blacksmith. The two of you agree that the constable needs to be restrained. The townsfolk free the knight and place the constable in the stocks. The knight thanks you and says she can take charge of security in town for the time being. She asks if you'll investigate rumors she's heard concerning Alcaire Castle, so you head that way. When you arrive at the castle, you speak with Dame Falhut, who's arguing with an envoy. She says that the envoy came with armed guards and wishes to speak with Duke Nathaniel in private, which she will not allow. There's also a Red Guard army camped outside, making everyone tense. You enter the castle and speak with her superior, Sir Hughes.
You're welcome to Alcaire Castle. I'm sure you noticed King Faharajad's army camped outside our walls, so you can understand why Duke Nathaniel is not entertaining guests. I should hope you're not here to add to our troubles.
He agrees to let the envoy in alone to speak with the Duke, then asks you for a favor. He says his knights have intercepted secret messages sent to King Faharajad from someone calling themselves Almendine. He wants you to visit the library, but it's guarded and doesn't want the Duke to know you're there. You start by making conversation with the library guard, finding that he's jealous of how other men look at his wife. You find his wife in the market, and she mentions a man who's going to help her carry her groceries home. When you tell the guard this, he's not happy.
My wife? Vendi? That motherless louse. His escorting days will come to a swift end when I break his kneecaps.
In the library, you learn that King Faharajad's daughter, the Duchess Lacana, is also known as the Star of the Almendine. You report back to Sir Hughes.
I hate to say it, but I'm going to have to speak with the Duke about this. The fact that the Duchess is sending secret letters to her father is serious cause for concern. We need to know exactly what they're planning, though.
He says the envoy spoke with Duchess Lacana, and now the Duchess wants to speak with the Red Guard general outside the castle, but they can't risk allowing this. You decide to go directly to the Duchess and offer to be her messenger. The Duchess is scared and alone, staying in this castle as a foreigner, and attempts at her life have been made.
There are many rivals for the throne in Alcaire. They despise the Covenant, and they would kill me to destroy it. My father has been trying to identify the assassins. I must speak with General Thoda at the camp outside, but I am forbidden.
She suggests you spar with Thoda's troops to impress him, then speak with him. General Thoda reveals that the one who tried to poison Lacanna was working for Dame Falhut. You return to the Duchess, and she says Falhut was upset about her marriage to the Duke, but didn't think that would motivate her to murder. Then you inform Falhut's superior, Sir Hughes. He says she needs to be questioned, so you offer to apprehend her. When you find her, though, she attacks.
Down to this, so be it.
After slaying her, you report back to Sir Hughes.
I'm sorry to hear that. You did what had to be done, and I suppose her reaction merely proves her guilt.
He believes Falhut was not acting alone and wishes to speak with you in private. You head to Sir Hughes's house, but as you enter, you find the envoy bound in ropes. She tells you Sir Hughes is crazy and is going to kill the Duchess. His journal nearby confirms he's been haunted by nightmares. You rush off to the Duchess, but it is too late. She lies dead on the floor, and her husband the Duke looks at her in disbelief. After talking to him, you agree to track down Sir Hughes by heading to a nearby stronghold called Firebrand Keep. At the keep, you find that Sir Hughes has ordered the knights to attack the Red Guards camped outside Alcaire Castle. One night, Sir Edmund, who does not want to follow this order, asks you to converse with the other knights and form a resistance to stop Sir Hughes. Most of the knights you speak with agree to join you, while a few loyalists attack. After convincing a few, you return to Sir Edmund, who has already been preparing to take over the keep from the Loyalists.
I've told the knights positioned around the castle to attack on our signal. There's a siege horn mounted atop Firebrand Keep's main hall. If you are willing, I would ask you to go there and blow the horn. That will signal everyone to attack.
Sir Edmund and the Resistance gain the upper hand, but he's been wounded and asks you to face Sir Croix, who leads the Loyal Knights. Then he wants you to blow a different horn to put an end to the fighting.
At last, the outsider who rallies my knights to rebellion.
Returning to Sir Edmund, he's unhappy over having to fight his former comrades, but now he's assuming control of the keep. He says Sir Hughes is in the infirmary if you want to deal with him next.
Then I suppose you must. Whatever crimes he may be guilty of, you should know that Sir Hughes was always an honorable knight. I simply must believe that his recent actions are caused by some form of insanity.
You find Sir Hughes in disturbed sleep at the infirmary. As you examine him, you enter his nightmare. Daedric monsters whisper, telling him to fear everyone and trust no one. You speak to him and he's full of doubts, saying the Omen of Fear has poisoned his mind. Then you confront the Omen and slay it. Sir Hughes says this has freed his mind, but he remains guilty of his sins. After exiting the nightmare, you speak to the Duke and explain that Sir Hughes is now free of Daedric influence.
As strong as my anger may be, I sense truth in your words, and some change in Sir Hughes's character. But he murdered my wife, and for that, I can find no forgiveness.
As his emotions are high, he leaves the decision up to you whether Sir Hughes is to be executed or spared. Either way, the Duke's next concern is that the similarities between what happened here with what happened at Coghlan Village might point to a larger conspiracy. He advises you to consult with Brother Murin at Pariah Abbey. As you approach the abbey, you learn that it has been attacked by a group of organized smugglers called the Midnight Union, and they've set fires everywhere. You begin helping by putting out fires. Then you're asked to check on the abbey's leader, Abbot Dirac, who went to the Cave of Dreams, and Brother Hakam, who was sent after him. Outside the cave, you find a deceased Brother Hakam holding a scroll of return. Then you head inside and fight through more smugglers. You encounter Master Altian, who's protecting the abbot, and he says the Midnight Union have put the abbot to sleep and he won't wake up. You tell him that Hakam is dead, but you have the Scroll of Return. He tells you that the abbot has a scroll that will put out the biggest fires at the abbey. The two of you swap scrolls, so he can return the abbot to safety, and you can go put out the fire. The scroll summons a storm Atronach that puts out the fire, then you speak with Altian, who has returned with the abbot.
He's still under a sleep spell. But I've learned something. The Midnight Union wanted us to panic. The attack, the fires, they were just a diversion. While we were distracted, they entered the abbey and stole the Dream Shard.
He says the Dream Shard can be used to protect people from the supernal dreamers. You enter the abbey and are told that the abbot has been cursed with a spell that forces him to sleep and dream, but the other brothers can't dream at all because they've all drunk potions made from the Dream Shard which prevent dreaming. Since you can dream, you drink a sleeping potion and enter the abbot's nightmare. You find the abbot bound in his nightmare, but he's aware of what's going on, so he tells you where a key can be found to free him. You free him, then awaken and speak with him in the real world.
You saw my dream. Clearly, Vaermina's cult, the Supernal Dreamers, is behind this betrayal by the Midnight Union. The outlaws of the Union took the Dream Shard, but I fear it's for Vaermina's evil purposes. We must recover it.
He says that the first order of business is to inform the king, as they will no longer be able to protect him with dreamless potions. The king is surprised that the Midnight Union has gone so far and says it makes no sense. He doesn't think that their leader, Count Hosni, would be behind this, so he asks you to meet with him, where he's currently holding his own wedding party. The Count agrees to meet with you, but asks for a favor first. His father doesn't approve of his wedding, and he holds their ring. He wants you to retrieve it for him. You ask his father for the ring.
Really? Did he tell you why he wants it? The signet proves ownership of our estate. Once he has the ring, my wife and I can be disposed of. So what did he buy you with?
He believes his son will kill him once he has his ring, so he keeps it hidden. He also says his wife may know where Hosni is hiding the Dream Shard, so you leave to speak with her. His wife Sorali says the supernal dreamers are threatening her, and she believes Hosni is working with them. When you tell her you believe Hosni stole the Dream Shard, she's shocked at first, but says his new bride, Adima, is manipulating him. She suggests you look for evidence that Adima has been working with the supernals. You find a correspondence letter and return to Sorali. She is pleased and wants to use this to clear Hosni's name once this is over. She also says Adima has been giving the Count potions that put him to sleep, and that she may be manipulating him in his dreams. She asks you to take one so you can enter his dream and see what's going on. From the Count's bard, you learn where the potions are kept. In the Count's dream, you speak with Sorali. She says she's in his dream because the part of him that's still good wants to help you. Then she tells you her son's being controlled by the Omen of Blood and you must destroy it. You grab the Dream Shard and return to the real world. Count Hosni looks at his dead wife and tells you he feels relieved. No longer under the Omen's control, he wants to make things right.
I have to repair the damage I've done. The first thing I'll do is order my guards to drive the supernal dreamers from our shore. Then I'll send for my parents.
He asks you to return the Dream Shard to Pariah Abbey, and he says that Vaermina, the Prince of Nightmares, who the Supernals worship, is not done with Stormhaven yet. Once you return the Dream Shard to the Abbey, Abbot Durak tells you to place it on Azura's statue.
Thank you, mortal. I had my doubts, but it seems the Abbot's faith in you was well placed.
Then the Abbot tells you there's another Omen to contend with. He tells you the Supernals have desecrated a shrine of Azura in Gavadon, but asks you to first warn High King Emmerich before heading there. You tell the king that you've returned the Dream Shard and killed the Omen. He is pleased, but then you tell him there's another Omen in Gavadon.
In Gavardon? Why couldn't it be in Morrowind or somewhere else across the continent? Gods! We already have enough trouble in Gavardon. General Godrun says the Iron Hand ogres are far from being fully defeated.
He mentions that Captain Ernelli was recently reassigned here from Gavardon, so you should speak with him. You find him overseeing construction of a guillotine, but he says it's just for show to deter people from joining the supernal cult. When you ask about Gavardon and any abnormalities, he says General Godrun has been losing sleep and acting strangely. Now you head to Gavardon. When you arrive, you're greeted by Abbot Dirac, then you speak with General Godrun. He asks you to help his clan fight the Iron Hand ogres, so you leave to meet with Sergeant Ulfin to join the battle. The sergeant says his soldiers are being crushed by boulders thrown by the ogres. He gives you his war horn and says if you can survive crossing the ridge, just blow his horn and his soldiers will charge in.
Tell your soldiers to stand down, Sergeant.
When you get back to the base of the tower, you find General Godrun, who refuses to let any more soldiers join this fight. Instead, he asks you to check on some missing miners.
The Iron Hands have been using a cavern to get through the mountains. I sent a mining team to collapse the cavern, but they never reported back. Find them and help them get it done. After that, we can clean up what's left.
Outside the tunnel, you meet the sole survivor, who is nearly dead himself. He gives you a pickaxe and tells you to break the support beams and escape quickly. After escaping, you find that General Godrun has ordered that his troops march on Wayrest. He's not acting himself, so you check on him and Abbot Dirac. Abbot Dirac knows exactly what's going on. Vaermina, the Prince of Nightmares, is trying to destroy the Daggerfall Covenant, and now the Omen of Betrayal invades the General's nightmares and poisons his thoughts. You enter the General's nightmare, and find him haunted by specters of treachery. You witness the General plotting to sack Wayrest, then confront the Omen of Betrayal.
So hard and all for nothing. You will die in this dream.
Once you defeat the Omen, Vaermina speaks to you through a statue.
Do you really think my manipulations would be so vulnerable? You are not even a hindrance.
She says she's got the king now, then you leave the dream. Back in reality, the abbot tells you the general is well again, then he's shocked when you tell him that King Emmerich is next. He says we need the help of Azura, but her shrine has been defiled. You gather the items necessary for cleansing her shrine, then find it at the Weeping Giant. After cleansing it, you ask for her aid.
Yes. Vaermina has pushed too far this time, and she must receive her comeuppance. I will aid you, but you should know that extricating your king from her clutches will be far more difficult than it was with the others.
She says the king is not gripped by another Omen, but Galthus, the Night Terror. Then she gives you a stone to help you help the king. You meet Abbot Dirac in Wayrest, and his spirits are lifted when he learns that you possess the Dusk Stone. Then you enter High King Emmerich's nightmare. You find an evil imposter King Emmerich preparing to execute the real King Emmerich, but in his nightmare, the real King Emmerich believes he's unworthy and wants to be executed. He also doesn't believe you when you tell him this is just a dream, and he asks you to kill him. During this conversation, though, you get clues about where to find Galthus, so you gather 3 hidden keys. With the 3 keys in hand, the palace is unlocked, enabling you to confront Galthus. After defeating Galthus, you return to the king and tell him. He seems a little confused at first, but hope returns to him. As you try to leave the nightmare, you are instead taken to another statue of Vaermina. She says she's going to trap you here for a few centuries, but even if you escape, she will never forget what you've done and will have her vengeance one day. After defeating a few minions, you manage to escape back to reality. You are greeted by the king, who says he wants to speak with you privately. He's ashamed of how he acted in his dream, but thankful for your courage and honor. He asks you to accompany him to the throne room, where he gifts you his axe and praises your deeds. Then he requests two things from you. First, to see to it that the guillotine in the town square is being destroyed. Second, he says that a conflict has arisen between the noble houses of Rivenspire, and he'd like your help in resolving it. You find Captain Ernele, who was previously overseeing the construction of the guillotine, and tell him the king wants it destroyed, then head to Rivenspire. And that's the end of the story of Stormhaven. Stay tuned to this channel for the next video in this series, The Story of Rivenspire. I hope you've enjoyed this video. See you next time.